Many arcade games were notorious for devouring your quarters, but these hidden gems never really got the opportunity. With emulators, modern ports, and retro collections available today, classic arcade games are more accessible than ever. Yet beyond the well-known hits, there are some truly amazing titles that most players never got to experience. In this video, we're counting down 11 underrated arcade gems that would have happily taken all your quarters back in the day. A princess kidnapped by a god, a hero who must battle through the entire Egyptian underworld to save her. Nobody saw that kind of story coming in an arcade game. Big Karnak fully embraces its cliches and wears them with pride. Osiris has taken your beloved, and the only solution is to punch, slash, and fight your way through every mythical creature Egypt has to offer. The visuals grab you right from the start. Big Karnak perfectly captures the mystical feel of ancient Egypt with a rich color palette that makes every environment stand out. From hieroglyph-covered walls and massive monuments to the dark, eerie underworld, each area has its own strong atmosphere. The boss fights are where the game really shines. Every stage ends with an epic showdown against a major Egyptian deity, all rendered in beautiful detailed pixel art with strong iconic designs that make you stop for a second before attacking. Gameplay feels similar to Ghouls and Ghosts in style. Side-scrolling stages full of platforming and enemies attacking from all directions. You collect different weapons like spears, axes, and magical projectiles, each useful against specific enemies. Choosing the right weapon becomes important as the game progresses. There are also occasional light puzzle segments that break up the constant action without being too complicated. The soundtrack is energetic, catchy, and propulsive, exactly the kind of music that makes the whole experience feel faster and more thrilling. The title alone tells you this is not a normal game, and to be clear from the start, there is no DC Batman involved. Instead, Ninja Baseball Batman mixes baseball, ninjas, and complete chaos into one of the most unique beat-em-ups of the 90s. Surprisingly, it works really well. From the first few minutes, the action is non-stop and frantic. You can choose from 4 characters, each with their own distinct fighting style: the balanced all-rounder, the powerful heavy hitter, the fast speedy fighter, and the long-range specialist. This variety matters because the game keeps throwing waves of crazy enemies at you. The enemies are anything but ordinary: evil cats, living baseball bats, giant balls, and all kinds of bizarre creatures. Every stage feels like a new surprise. The combat is fast, chaotic, and genuinely fun. Despite the ridiculous theme, it's not just mindless button mashing. There are combos, special moves, and enough depth to keep fights interesting. At the same time, it stays true to arcade style. The life bar is short, some enemies play dirty, and dying is very much part of the experience. This is clearly a game designed to take your quarters. Visually, it still looks great. The sprites are big, colorful, and full of personality. The animations are smooth, the stages are varied, and everything matches the wild, silly tone perfectly. What makes Ninja Baseball Batman special is its replay value. The campaign is short, but the constant fun, especially in co-op, makes you want to jump back in immediately. It's weird, over the top, and completely nonsensical, and that's exactly why it remains one of the most entertaining beat-em-ups in arcade history. The year is 2093. A space-time patroller named Roger has been chasing a dangerous criminal named Gustav through a time rift. Their chase ends with a crash landing on a prehistoric planet filled with dinosaurs and werewolves. Surprisingly, the local werewolf tribe decides to team up with him. Dyna Gear is a fast-paced run-and-gun that focuses heavily on constant movement. You're almost always sprinting, jumping, climbing, swinging from branches, or dashing across treetops. The entire game feels like someone took that famous high-speed downhill chase from Strider and turned it into a full game, and it works amazingly well. Roger is quick on the ground while the wolf can jump much higher. Both characters have over-the-top charming designs. Roger looks like a blonde action hero in football-style armor. The wolf is a massively muscular, shirtless werewolf who seems obsessed with working out. You get 4 different weapons with unique uses. Swords are great for fast close combat. Axes fly in a wide upward arc. Homing arrows deal with faraway targets. The ball and chain hammer spins around you, creating a powerful spinning attack. One of the most fun weapons until a boss fight forces you to stay back and its short range becomes a problem. Enemies burst into coins with loud, satisfying effects. Defeated dinosaurs sometimes drop healing stakes. Friendly dinosaurs can even join you for parts of the levels and run alongside you. Bright, colorful, high energy, and unfortunately almost forgotten today. In 1993, Capcom was at the absolute peak of arcade game development, and The Punisher is clear proof of that. Built on the same engine as Final Fight but taken to the extreme, this game throws you into the dirty underbelly of New York City as either Frank Castle or Nick Fury on a mission to take down the Kingpin. The 6 stages are packed with non-stop urban action, back alleys, sewers, moving buses, rooftops and more. You fight, stab, shoot, and blow up waves of tougher and tougher enemies in every corner of the criminal world. The weapon variety is fantastic. You can pick up axes, swords, knives, sledgehammers, flamethrowers, Uzis, and even javelins that can pierce through multiple enemies in one throw. Guns appear when enemies use them, but the focus stays on brutal close-range combat. The graphics are outstanding, detailed, colorful sprites with no slowdown even when the screen is full of enemies. Comic-style onomatopoeia pops up during fights, giving it a strong connection to the source material. Both characters play similarly, but have different story cutscenes. The Punisher finishes bosses in his signature deadly way, while Nick Fury knocks them out. The soundtrack builds real tension and gets more intense as you progress, especially in the final stages. Overall, The Punisher is one of Capcom's best arcade games from that golden era. In the mid-90s, Sailor Moon was one of the biggest anime franchises in Japan, so arcade adaptations were bound to happen. Pretty Soldier, developed by Gazelle, turned out to be one of the best. Interestingly, it never received a home console release, which turned it into a hidden gem over time. The game follows the first arc of the anime, but the focus is completely on fast-paced action. The formula is straightforward: move through stages, fight groups of enemies, and take on bosses. The execution, however, is much better than most licensed games from that era. It plays like a classic beat-em-up. You have standard attacks, jumps, dashes, and a powerful special move that hits all nearby enemies. There are also magic attacks similar to Golden Axe, which consume energy for big damage. The combat feels fast, responsive, and surprisingly polished for an anime tie-in. The difficulty is no joke. Enemies come in large groups, healing items are rare, and you can easily get surrounded. One mistake can cost you a big chunk of health. Visually, the game still looks great. The sprites are large, colorful, and beautifully animated. Special moves have flashy effects that add extra personality to the characters. Another nice touch is that the original anime voice actresses provided voices, giving it an authentic feel. Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon may not be as famous as other arcade classics, but it remains one of the strongest anime-based beat-em-ups ever made. Fun, challenging, and full of energy, a pleasant surprise that deserves more attention today. Let's be honest about the source material. Someone saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles become a massive hit and thought, what other funny animals can we turn into heroes? The answer was cows. It was clearly a cash grab idea. The cartoon itself was pretty forgettable and only lasted 2 seasons. The theme song was catchy though, but none of that matters because Konami developed the game. In the early 90s, Konami was so good that they could take almost any weak license and turn it into a fun arcade experience. Mesa plays like a run-and-gun brawler similar to Sunset Riders and Bucky O'Hare. You get side-scrolling stages full of enemies, 4 playable characters, interactive environments with barrels and dynamite, and weapon power-ups that keep the action fresh across short, exciting levels. What makes it stand out is the strong audio-visual personality. The character designs, enemy animations, sound effects, and overall cartoonish slapstick style are done with real commitment. The animation feels like a big step toward what would later become modern cel shading. The game never feels like it's trying too hard, and you always want to see what crazy thing happens next. One of the funniest and darkest moments is when your character turns into a steak after losing a life. That single detail shows how much effort the developers put into making something memorable out of a weak concept. Konami could have phoned this game in. Instead, they made something genuinely fun, even if it was about cows. In 1994, NASCAR made Gunforce 2 for IREM as a sequel to a forgettable run-and-gun that almost no one remembers. They basically threw out most of what didn't work in the first game and started fresh. The result is so much better that the 2 games barely feel related. The 5 stages are packed with variety. You'll ride a runaway train, fight through a giant enemy base full of mechs, climb chains in a vertical section that suddenly turns into a motorcycle chase with a giant crab robot chasing you, explore a ruined post-apocalyptic city, and finish in an alien-infested spaceship with designs clearly inspired by H.R. Giger's Alien movies. The final boss is a creepy centipede-like robot attacking you inside a missile silo. The dual-wielding system is excellent. You can combine your normal gun with any special weapon you pick up, firing both at the same time from different angles. There are 11 different vehicles you can hijack, including motorbikes, tanks, hovercrafts, and various mechs. The special weapons are fun and cover a wide range: lasers, flamethrowers, and more. Every shot feels satisfying. The pixel art is chunky, detailed, and full of personality. The animation, expressive enemies, and massive bosses with steampunk and alien designs still look impressive today. This game clearly influenced what Metal Slug would later become. Interestingly, many of the sound effects from Gunforce 2 were later used directly in the original Metal Slug. A few days ago, I came across an arcade game from Data East called the Cliffhanger Edward Randy, released in 1990. Despite the name, it has nothing to do with the Sylvester Stallone movie. Instead, it has a full-on obsession with Indiana Jones-style adventure, which makes sense because Data East had already done something similar with James Bond in Sly Spy. The story is set in dieselpunk Europe around 1930. A secret military group forces a scientist to build a giant robot, but he manages to pass the activation key to his granddaughter before being captured. She then asks Edward Randy for help. Edward was supposed to meet his girlfriend, but he picks up his whip anyway and jumps into action. The game is almost non-stop chase sequences. Edward rides on top of moving vehicles while enemies attack from every direction, including the background and foreground at the same time. The first stage feels like the boat chase from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade that never became a proper game. Later stages have planes crashing into each other in spectacular ways that still look impressive today. The visuals are excellent, with great camera effects, parallax scrolling, and detailed pixel art that make every stage exciting to watch. The soundtrack perfectly matches the high-speed cinematic feel. The whip is the star mechanic. Edward can latch onto objects and perform a spinning attack that clears enemies when it works. Timing it correctly while surrounded is the tricky part. The health system is also unique and harsh. Your HP is based on points earned from defeating enemies. When it runs out, Edward dramatically flies off screen like a piece of paper in the wind. This was Noise Factory's debut title, released in 1999 and sadly overlooked by most arcade fans. That's unfortunate because Gaia Crusaders turned out to be one of the most imaginative and enjoyable beat-em-ups of the entire arcade period. A dark heir of Satan has taken control of the planet using an army of mythical monsters. The only way to stop him is to gather 7 pieces of the Tear of Gaia. The story is basic, but it nicely sets up a team of 5 wildly different fighters. Cochin is a quick young woman who uses magical runes to set enemies on fire. Jimmy Isaac is the versatile brawler who strongly resembles Cody from Final Fight, except in a purple tank top. Fred Sethal is a dreadlocked martial artist who fights exclusively with his legs and commands both fire and wind. Khufu is a slow, heavy-hitting magic user who looks nothing like the classic elderly wizard. M98S is a robot armed with energy cannons who can transform her body parts in surprising and creative ways. Every character feels unique, so replaying the game with a different fighter completely changes the experience. The combo system is excellent. Double tapping forward launches enemies into the air, letting you follow up with chains of ground, aerial, and elemental attacks. The 6 big stages take you from destroyed cities and bug-infested caves to strange demonic gardens and a giant African temple for the final showdown. This is where Noise Factory began before they made Sengoku 3. Data East had a talent for making games that looked familiar at first glance but offered something more interesting when you played them. Bloody Wolf looks like a Contra-style run-and-gun, but it's not exactly that. 2 elite soldiers are sent on a mission to rescue the president. That's the entire story, and it's all the game needs. The camera angle is unusual for the genre, a slightly tilted top-down view that almost feels like a platformer at times. Jumping is a real mechanic here, not just for show. The game mixes standard shooting action with light platforming sections throughout. The weapon system makes you think carefully. You can carry one main weapon and one sub-weapon at the same time. You'll find flamethrowers, rocket launchers, shotguns, and more in crates. And choosing what to keep actually matters. There's also an inventory system that feels a bit like Metal Gear. Infrared goggles let you see laser traps, keys open lockboxes, fins help you swim faster, and body armor reduces damage. None are required, but they change how you handle different situations. The home version is much bigger than the arcade original. It has larger maps, no time limit, new traps, and a completely new non-linear stage where you can freely explore an enemy base while rescuing hostages. The final boss is brand new and extremely tough, forcing you to fight his fast movements and boomerang attacks with nothing but a knife. Unlimited continues make most of the game more forgiving, but that final boss remains brutally difficult. And that's it for 11 incredible arcade games that would have happily taken all your quarters. From the wild Egyptian adventure in Big Karnak to the prehistoric chaos of Dyna Gear, from the Punisher's intense action to Ninja Baseball Batman's completely ridiculous fun. These games were pure arcade magic. Most of them lived and died in dark arcades, and many players never got the chance to experience them, but they absolutely deserved more attention. Tell me in the comments which game surprised you the most. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe for more retro content. See you in the next one.